Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today I am joined by a very special guest for what has now become a traditional review of the year in guitars and gear. So for the third year, let's all give a big warm welcome to Mr. Leigh Fuge.
Thanks for having me again for the third time running.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. I guess you enjoy this as well, because, like, you know, 2 could be a mistake, but 3 is like you've committed in some way.
Yeah, we've definitely committed to something now, haven't we? We've definitely gone beyond it just being a one-off thing.
Well, now it has to continue as well. So the first or the third of many. So how has 2023 been for you in general before we get into the nitty and the gritty of the guitars and gear and stuff?
It's been a good year, yeah. It's been a very busy year, but very good. Yeah, I'm really ready for a couple of weeks off over Christmas now. But it's been a very good year. I've enjoyed this year very much. How has your 2023 been?
It's also been pretty good. Like, I started a new day job this year, so I've been getting into that, but enjoying the YouTube, enjoying the guitars and gear. And like we were talking about before we started, I think both of us thought that when we started preparing for this video that it wasn't a particularly vintage year for gear, but now we've gone through and sort of thought about what we've seen this year. It's actually not been too bad, so I'm kind of excited to see what you've made of everything.
Yeah, I don't really know why I felt like that, because when we were talking about this, I kind of thought, well, I don't really remember many things this year that I got super excited about. And then when I started putting gear together for the video, I was like, oh yeah, that. I ended up with loads of stuff, which is, yeah, it's weird. It's almost like I forgot about some things this year. I guess maybe just because I've been so busy, I've kind of done things and then compartmentalized them and, you know, kind of not opened that box again until this week.
Yeah, it's weird. I think a similar sort of thing happened for me. So without further ado then, let's open that Pandora's box of goodness.
Let's do it.
Kick right off with, let's go with your first choice. And maybe, is there one specific piece of guitar-related gear that you would say was your favorite thing of 2023?
Probably this thing.
Here it is. Oh, I've seen it on Instagram. What a beauty that is.
Yes. My Valiant Guitars Jupiter. This I got at the maybe like April this year. I think I got this thing, or maybe the tail end of March. I think it was. Even though this was originally kind of conceived last year at 42 Gear Street in 2022, the guitar was finally ready this year. In fact, we might even have mentioned Valiant guitars last year on the video.
We did. We briefly did. Yep.
But now there's actually a physical one in the room rather than just one that we'd played.
Yeah. So it's a Jupiter model, right? So it's their offset model, but people who haven't seen it before, you should go and look at pictures and other documentary footage on Leigh's channels. Of course, links in the description and everywhere. But tell us a little bit about this specific model and the kind of the crazy idea that you had that led to this becoming a reality.
So it started with, I guess, a joke, really, between me and Igor, the guy who runs the company. And he was saying that, you know, they can pretty much do whatever you want in terms of colours, because they're basically a custom shop that have, like, spec models. So they have, like, you know, templates for the Jupiter guitar, and then you can kind of customise it with whatever you want on top. And it started off as a joke with, like, I said, you know, what about a Paisley guitar with a purple sparkle finish over the top, and then you kind of relic it back to expose the Paisley underneath. And, you know, we laughed about it for a while, and then a couple of weeks later he starts sending me pictures of the kind of the makings of this, and it's like, oh, okay, we're going there then. So yeah, it's kind of like he actually named the colour, what's he named it? Welsh Purple Paisley, because you can actually buy this guitar in this spec from their website. It's actually listed as one of the models in this exact colour on their website as well. It's called Welsh Purple Paisley, or kind of in a way.
Do you know if they've sold any others with this scheme yet? Like, has he told you if it's a top seller or anything like that?
I don't know yet. It's only just gone up on the website because they've got a brand new website. And technically, my video for this hasn't actually been published yet. I haven't actually posted the video. It's coming out very soon, though. I'm just waiting for a few little last-minute things from those guys. But I have used this in a lot of other videos as well, though.
Yeah,
and
I've
it's
seen it on
been on the
Instagram
road
and
with me a lot
everywhere.
too.
I guess the big question is, will Danish Pete be the second person to purchase one of these guitars? Because it looks like it might be right up his alley.
Well, Danish Pete's played this.
Oh, there you go.
He's actually played this one. The day I collected it was at a guitar show in Birmingham. They actually brought it to me across Europe on a bus because obviously with the situation in Ukraine, they couldn't ship the guitars. So the representative that was at the show, she actually brought this across Europe on a bus and hand delivered it to me at the show. And Pete was there. So Pete has actually played this a little bit as well. But he also has a purple Valiant, not this shape. He's got one of the Smith models, which is like their kind of Les Paul.
Oh, really?
But he has a purple one of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, he did like the colour on this.
Yeah.
Price
Yeah, it's awesome. What pickups are in it?
They are bare knuckle riffraff pickups. So it's kind of like their PAF-ish kind of humbuckers. But they've got that really, really cool switching system that Valiant do. So for anyone who hasn't seen them before, each pickup has a 3-way switch where you can put it in humbucker mode, single coil mode, or like a parallel split. So it can kind of do like Strat sounds, Tele sounds, as well as humbucker sounds as well.
Yeah.
So very versatile.
Very, very nice. And has that one been out on the road with you a lot this year? Or
a lot, yeah. A lot. Yeah, it's one of my main kind of road guitars because it's just so versatile. You can just do anything with it. You can take it to any gig and it will get you through. It's kind of the dream for a guitar, really, isn't it? Like that one guitar that can do everything. This is kind of
exactly. Yeah, it's a pretty special guitar. I'm not jealous at all that you happen to have that guitar in your possession. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. It's very nice. We're actually talking about trying to figure out a way to make another guitar that's even more versatile. We're still in the kind of brainstorming stages, but maybe in the next 6 months there'll be a partner to this which will maybe even exceed the versatility of this guitar. We're bouncing a few ideas around at the moment. But yeah, they make incredible stuff.
Yeah. Like all of the Valiant guitars that I've tried have been exceptional, like superlative guitars in every way. Like they play fantastically, they're perfectly balanced, they sound amazing. I love the neck profiles, and some of the super amazing custom ones that they do are also like just spectacular. I've got a video I did with Glenn Fricker at one of the 42 Gear Streets with the Jupiter Fireborn, I think it's called, which is like a $7,000 totally custom, like sculpted, carved wood top. It's just it's a piece of art, that one. So amazing guitars. Yeah, that's a great choice.
They made some really crazy custom ones for Dovidas. If you go on his channel, he's got some Jupiters that are just like crazy. They've got like a blue flamed fretboard and like 7-string with a Floyd Rose, and they look absolutely crazy.
Very nice. I shall have to check that out.
Yeah, they don't really have any limits, I don't think. I think they can pretty much do anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, from what I've heard about them and seen on the website, they will pretty much fulfill any request. So for anyone watching this who has a crazy idea for a guitar, ask the guys at Valiant, and you never know.
That's where this came from.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a crazy idea that turned into an actual guitar.
Yeah, super cool. That's a great first choice. So I'm going to raise you my first choice of the year, and I think it's the very first time since I've been doing videos on YouTube where I've actually said I want this guitar that much that I'm going to pay money to have it, because they didn't want to give it for me for free because it was a prototype. I don't know if you can guess what it might be. Maybe like could be a tricky one, but once you see it, you'll.
Have you told me about it already?
Maybe, but maybe not.
Oh, I don't know. It's not a Benton, is it? No.
It's the most expensive guitar I've ever purchased.
A prototype?
Yeah. That was at an event I attended in the summer.
Right.
At Henning's place.
Right, so who was there? PJD?
Yes.
Yes.
I played for the first time.
Oh, that one.
And could not resist the new standard St. John. You own one of the old standard St. John's, the original standards. And
which I think was on last year's video.
which was on last year's video. It was your main choice, and then this is my choice for this year. And because it's a prototype, like it was not going to be sold or anything like that. But I said, guys, as soon as I played this guitar, I don't know, I fell in love with it somehow. I've done a video on it, like a full-length video where I explain all the reasons. But this guitar is just, I love it. And I'm so happy that I'm now the permanent custodian of it.
Yeah.
So, there's quite a few differences between this and the standard that you have. So it's like the bodies are not semi-hollow anymore. So it's a solid body, but they're using a super lightweight wood called a beachy.
Right.
So this is like, it's about 2.5 kilograms, maybe 2.7 or something like that. So
yeah, because
very light.
Mine is still got all the real big chambers there.
Yeah, exactly. This is solid wood, and this is not roasted maple. It's just your standard maple.
Oh, okay.
It's PJD branded pickups in this. We've got a P90 in the neck and a humbucker in the bridge, and I have got the names written somewhere. It's the Wadfather humbucker and the Parkins Cream P90. Goto hardtail bridge, standard stuff otherwise. But yeah, it was so weird, because for me, like, I love blue guitars. Like, I love that one you've got there, for example. And like, most of my favorite personal guitars are blue, but suddenly I saw this one and fell in love with that. I'm also a rosewood or ebony fingerboard guy, but I fell in love with this guitar and had to have it at some point, and now I do, and it's incredible, and I'm super happy with it. So 2 happy PJD owners, yeah.
Yes. What I really like about my PJD is that the finish is very thin. So it's actually like relicing quite nicely.
Yeah.
And
yeah, this
right there as well along where the volume knob is, because I ride the volume quite a lot when I'm gigging. You can see there's actually some finger wear there, and yeah, it's kind of aging nicely as well as it gets used.
Yeah, that's super nice. This one also has a very thin nitro finish, but it's like it's still fairly pristine, although it was at 42 Gear Street with 25 YouTubers beating it up for 3 days. So there's the odd little mark on it.
You can see the open pores in the wood as well, which is nice. I like that in a guitar. Like, you can actually see where the finish kind of sinks into the grain. Kind of like this, you can see where the kind of the grain lines are when you catch it in the light.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know how it is sometimes when a guitar just catches you and you have to have it, and I did that with this one, and I couldn't let it get away, and now I've got it. So happy days indeed. So that's my number one choice for the year.
Yeah.
And actually, I just want to move across to it's not my second choice because it's still kind of brand new for a test, but I've got another PJD guitar which I've been sent to make a video with, which is the new Woodford, S-Type.
Yeah.
HSS, hardtail bridge, satin gold finish, and this actually has the same neck profile as the St. John, which I fell in love with. So I've fallen in love with this one as well.
That is very nice.
If no one else ever wants it. This is the guitar that at 42 Gear Street 5, every single one of the YouTubers wanted to have. So like our good friend Kernar, for example, he wouldn't give his left arm for this guitar because then he couldn't play it, but maybe, one of his kidneys or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody loved this one. It sounds fantastic. PJD pickups again. And yeah, this is a brand that's just knocking it out of the park with guitars like this. And they're made in the UK.
I'm very into that.
But they're like, I think that's 1,300.
Yeah,
that's the starting price, which for a
incredibly
guitar
affordable.
is still, I think, very, very reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of money, but in terms of like what you get for that money, it's hard to kind of fault, really, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So PJD loving out the way from me. Have you got any more guitar choices that you want to talk about?
So this is going to be really funny now, because I didn't know you had that guitar, that PJD right there. You hadn't told me about that. I had no idea you were going to pull that out on camera. And I had no idea you were going to present me with a gold HSS guitar. Because the next guitar that I've got to the side is a gold HSS guitar.
No way. Well, there you go.
But this is a Chapman.
It must be right. Very nice.
This is the new ML3 Pro X. I've only got this on loan, but I'm doing my best to convince them that it's going to go missing in the post, because I really, really like this guitar. I've only had it for like a month on loan so far, but it's been in a bunch of videos, and I just thought when you pulled out a gold HSS Strat, I thought, oh god, my next guitar's a gold HSS Tele. So
yeah, sorry, but there's something special about that colorway and those pickups, and that's got a whammy bar on it as well, right?
Does, yeah, vintage style.
Wow, is it a Wilkinson?
It is, yes. Yeah, it's a Wilkinson trem. And Seymour Duncan pickups.
How heavy is that guitar? It looks chunky,
pretty heavy.
The way you're holding it, okay. I was going to say it looks. Is it chambered or anything like that?
Oh no, that's a
Solid,
piece of wood.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's made the good old fashioned way. There's no chambering at all. The only weight relief you have is in the slight hand cutaway there, and the slightly beveled neck heel.
Yeah,
but other than that, this is a full weight. It's I don't know what the exact weight is, but it's chunky. But it's
chunky. Yeah,
but it's comfortably chunky though. You wouldn't put it on and think, oh, that's too heavy. It's just a good solid weight.
Comfortably chunky is okay. What's the fingerboard on that? It's lovely and dark. Is it ebony?
It's not as dark in person. I think it looks a bit darker on the camera. I think it's just rosewood.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And it's got roasted maple.
Looks very, very nice though. Like with this gold PJD, I told Jens, our friendly PJD rep, that if this had a rosewood or an ebony board, this one wouldn't be going back either. Because as fickle as I am, it's just like, yeah. But anyway, there is something special about gold. This one's satin, and I really love the satin nature of that as well. But like that Chapman
slightly different color gold.
Yeah.
This gold, I don't know how well that comes across on camera, but in person, it almost has like a slight green hue to it as well.
Yeah.
When you kind of catch it in the right light, it almost looks a little bit green in places. Yeah. But yeah, it's very cool. It's a very cool color. This was one of the new ones they had at NAMM this year.
And they have Chapman own brand pickups in them, right?
The lower price ones do. The Pro Series has Seymour Duncans. So the standard series has their own ones. Yeah, these are Duncans. I don't know exactly what ones, but they are Seymour Duncans. But if you buy the standard series Chapmans, the ones that are like sort of £500-600, those have Chapman own brand pickups. Because I've got the ML one. And that is just Chapman's own. This is the standard one, and that's just their own pickups.
Okay. Is that one of the newer standard models as well, like a 2023 model, or is that an older model?
22, that one is. So it's
so like current range, but not from 23.
Yeah, the previous year. And then this is 2023. This one's 23, and this is these ones they only released at NAMM, I think. These are brand new.
Yeah. And what sort of price range is the Pro? Is it just over 1,000 or just under, or
probably about the same price as the PJD? I think this sort of 1,200-ish, that kind of ballpark. Yeah.
So also reasonable considering the specs and stuff like that. And do you feel like a big jump in quality between the standard and the Pro one, or is it kind of like diminishing returns like with other brands tend to be?
There's definitely a jump. I think it's like everything. The standards are so good that you almost don't feel the huge benefit of the jump to the Pro. But when you play the Pro, there is that extra kind of 10% that makes you think, oh yeah, okay, I see the...
Yeah.
It's little things like, silly things, but like the glow-in-the-dark fret inlays on the side. The necks just feel a little bit more refined, and there's just little detail that kind of push it over the edge. It's got hip shot lock and tuners and niceties like that kind of make it feel a bit more luxurious.
Well, either way, a very, very nice HSS modern sort of a guitar. Like the Woodford I've got here is your more classic HSS, if you can have a classic HSS, and that's going to be suitable for doing every kind of genre. A great gigging guitar as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, I've not actually gigged this one personally because it's a loaner, but I'd love to take it out on the road. But you don't see many Tele style guitars with HSS and trems either, which is quite nice.
No, you don't, but it works.
Yeah.
It looks right, yeah.
I think it strikes a really nice middle ground because I love Strats, but Strats are very comfortable to play. And Teles can sometimes feel a little bit more cumbersome, which is kind of part of the fun of a Tele, is it's a bit more kind of, raw and kind of primitive. It's just a plank of wood with some strings attached to it.
Yeah.
So having a Tele feel with some of the Strat niceties is quite a nice combination, I think. Because it feels weighty and chunky like a Tele, but then you can, play with a tremolo or go to a kind of a position 4 single coil sound, which you can't do on a Tele. So yeah, it's kind of a nice hybrid of the two, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I need to try out. My knowledge of Chapman guitars is disappointingly limited. So at NAMM next year, I'm going to make the effort to stop by, and maybe I'll drop your name and
do it.
They'll give you the special service.
I'll give you the name of the guy to look out for.
Cool. Looking forward to that. So we've had a PJD, we've had a Valiant, we've had a Chapman Pro, and I'm going to take us now to the other end of the budget spectrum.
Okay.
But we also mentioned before that, you know, even cheap guitars these days are great. It's hard to buy a very bad guitar.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I was trying to buy a bad guitar earlier this year, but I got myself one of the Squier Sonics, which is their new take on the bullet range, their cheapest one that they do. And these are about £150, €200 tops. And I bought this one with my own money because I played it and just loved it. It felt great. It feels fantastic. And this is going on my end of year list because it's just a really, really good guitar. And it is a Tele. It's a plank of wood with strings attached to it, but it does that Tele thing. It sounds authentic to me. It's got a really nice, comfy neck, and it was set up really well straight out of the box and stuff. And it's a win-win from me. And I think we've talked about this before on these lists that we've done. But if you think back to the first guitar that you had when you were a kid, just starting to learn, if you'd had access to something like this, it would have been such a different experience to what it actually was.
Yeah. Imagine some of the things like some of the Harley Benton ranges that you can get. Like those guitars didn't exist when we were younger. A guitar of that quality would cost 3 times what they charge for them now.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is insane.
Yeah, I've been blown away by this Sonic Tele. Again, video proof of that elsewhere if you want to watch that. But it's
love the colour.
Yeah, this is California blue, as they call it. It kind of looks like the sky in California with the solid clouds out, the scratch plate.
Except the 1 week that I was in California this year for NAM, the sky didn't look like that at all.
But it was grey the whole time.
The sky was the same colour as the scratch plate because there was so many clouds.
Which I think they would call charcoal frost instead of grey, but they do cover those needs as well. But yeah, awesome range. And I don't know if you've played any of the other Sonic guitars, like there's Mustangs, there's Strats, there's basses as well, and all of the ones that I've tested in stores have been really, really good. And this is not sponsored or anything like that, like I have no affiliation with Squier. This one I bought myself, and it's just a fun little thing that I might mod. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be worth it. But again, easy modding platforms and comparable in price to some of the Harley Bentons.
Yes.
And
sort of like sub 200, I'm guessing. Or maybe a little bit more, just over 200.
I think this was €170 where I am. So almost literally the same price as my Harley Benton TE62. And I did a video comparing the two, and they are quite similar in all aspects, really. But I actually ended up preferring the tones of the Squier over the HB. So that was that. And I think that, these are just fantastic guitars. And they get a bad rep because they're the cheapest Squiers out there, but they're really, really playable instruments. And, you know, again, if you're a kid starting out, you can do a whole lot worse than...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I also think that Harley Benton have made brands like Squier up their game. Because with Squiers before, you wouldn't get cool colours and stuff like that. But now we've got these California blues and shell pinks and stuff like that. And I think that's down to Harley Benton forcing the old brands to not live off nostalgia anymore, but kind of make good guitars that people will want to buy.
Oh, yeah, I've got to say, Harley Benton have really shaken up the guitar industry in that sense because they've shown what can be done for a low price. And I think that's made a lot of other brands kind of take note and say, well, actually, if they're offering, you know, like to use my experience with Harley Benton, most of them have like stainless steel frets. To offer stainless steel frets on a guitar that comes in at under £250, you're really going to get the other brands that have kind of done it their way for years, thinking, right, we really need to to play catch up now if we want to hold our place in the market.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then they brought out their 25th anniversary range this year. I don't know if you've tried any of those. I've had them briefly in my hands at shows, Harley Bentons, and here we go. Yeah, fantastic instruments for the money. I've not tried the JA60, but
it's great.
The others that I've tried, really, really decent guitars. Yeah. So Harley Benton knocking it out of the park. Anything else for you guitar-wise that you want to mention?
Yeah, there's a guitar that I acquired this year. So it's not a new piece of gear, but it's a guitar that is one of my favourite purchases this year because of the sentiment of the guitar.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any idea what it might be?
I think I do.
It's not new at all. It's this. And this is a 1988 Charvel 3DR. And the reason this one is such a sentimental guitar is because this was Mike's. this belonged to Mike Milton, otherwise known as CGS.
Yeah.
And Mike, obviously, like when he passed away, they started selling off all his gear to put some money into a trust fund for his kids. And I had no idea Mike even owned this guitar. But he always knew that one of the guitars that I always wanted was a Charvel from my birth year, which is 1988. And we had many conversations about it, and he never once mentioned to me that he owned this guitar. And then when all his stuff got listed for sale, his friend that was facilitating the sale got in touch with me, and he said, I've got something here I think you'd be very interested in. And he sent me a picture of this, and I was like, yep, I'll have it. So yeah, even though it's not a new piece of gear, it's a very sentimental piece of gear for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it's that's a unique thing. That's one that you will never sell. You know, that's a memory of Mike that you'll hold in your collection forever. So yeah, that's
on the back of the headstock. It's actually got. You can't really see it on the webcam, but on the close-up camera, it might be in focus. And there's actually a sticker with his name and his old address for if he ever lost the guitar, for someone to post it back to him.
As well as everything else, is it as a guitar?
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, it's an
guitar
incredible.
as well,
yeah, it's an incredible guitar. But when I went to pick it up, it was in the case exactly as he'd left it.
Yeah.
So it still had like his plectrum was like in the strings, and his old guitar strap was in there, and like it was literally like the day that he last put that in the case, it hadn't been touched since then. So it was like it wasn't even as, and I haven't even changed it either. I've literally tuned it up, and these are still the same strings at the moment that he would have put on there whenever he last restrung it.
Yeah.
I've not quite been able to bring myself to change the strings on it yet, because I'm just kind of still enjoying the fact that it's as it was. But yeah. So that's probably the most sentimental one I bought this year, even though it's not a brand new piece of gear.
No, exactly. But that's, in a way, by far the most important piece of gear that either of us has acquired this year. So
yeah,
that's great.
Wasn't expecting to acquire it either. It was just like one of those things kind of came out of the blue, and he said,
no, exactly.
You might like this. And it's like, yep, I've literally been searching for the right one for that year for so long, and that one, this one literally arrived, and it's like, that couldn't have been, you know, I couldn't have found a better one, really.
Yeah, but again, that was one of the special things about Mike as well. You know, it's just like him not to tell you about that, and then to
and he
have his friend contact you with it, and yeah,
it's just typical Mike, isn't it? He never kind of like bragged, or he's very like kind of understated in that sense. And he knew for years, like all the time I've known him, he's known how much I wanted one.
Yeah.
And knowing that he was sitting on that thing in the cupboard for so many years. And then it's like, right, there we go.
Yeah.
It's almost like his sense of humor, isn't it? Like, because he never took anything like kind of too seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
And even in like not being here anymore, he still found a way to be like, oh yeah, by the way, I've got this thing.
Yeah. Typical Mike.
Very typical Mike. So yeah, there's that one.
Yeah.
So you've got to top that now.
Okay. I can't. I had a couple of other guitars that I wanted to mention. Again, nothing. No, there is one which is new. I don't have it with me anymore, but it's the Maybach, the Stradovari Superfly, the HSS new model. I don't know if you've tried that. It's another HSS Stratocaster type guitar that I played this year. That was it's a new model from them, and it's amazing in every way.
I've tried one of their Stradivari's like 3 or 4 years ago at Gear Street, and it was great. I've not tried the brand new ones, but I have tried something from that line at some point.
Yeah, I got that one for a video this year, and that's another one where I would have probably kept it, but again, it was a prototype one, and they were like, oh, we need to give it to other YouTubers who are bigger and more famous than you, and I was like, okay, I accept that, that's fine. So they did. But yeah, an amazing guitar, and if you're watching this and you've never tried Maybach, then do it. And again, I have video proof of that. And I guess
I'd love to own some of their stuff.
Yeah, me too. It would be a dream. They also do at least customized stuff, so you could try and get a purple thing out of them as well if you could somehow do that.
Well, funny you mention that. As well. That's kind of where the original inspiration for the Jupiter came from, was at Gear Street 4, when they had all the Nick Page ones there, and there was the Strat with the green paisley with the purple sparkle on top. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I remember that guitar.
That was kind of the guitar that lit that fuse, because that was the same year that Igor was there for the first time from Valiant.
Yeah.
So that was the guitar that kind of sparked that conversation, because we were talking about how crazy could we make a finish on a guitar. And that was the sort of the original spark in that conversation that led to that guitar happening.
Yeah. That is really interesting. But yeah, that makes sense. Now I picture that Nick Page Maybach, and I can see that the Valiant is like the next evolution, the next generation of that guitar.
Yeah, that was kind of the starting point. It was seeing that guitar and thinking, oh, okay, that's really cool. Can we do something equally as crazy?
Yeah, that is pretty cool. Yeah. But there we go. We've talked a lot about expensive guitars, and the last one that I want to mention is kind of part of a range. And I think this is going to be relevant to you as well, because we were talking to them a little bit before we came on camera to do this, and it's vintage guitars. Vintage, I've seen a bunch of their new ranges of guitars at 2023 shows, like the NAMM show and also the Guitar Summit. They had these new guitars, and they've sent me a couple of them to make videos with. Recently, I did one on the V65H in purple satin, actually. So purple guitars are also big this year. That's a Jazzmaster style offset, and that was an amazing guitar. But I've just got the second one out of the box and started playing that recently. And that is the VSA 500, which is a 335 type with a proper Bigsby on it. And it has these Wilkinson humbuckers, which I think might be a newish model, which sound amazing.
That looks quite thick for a 335 as well. Is that like a thicker body? It looks quite chunky.
Yeah, it's pretty chunky, and it's a carved back and a carved top as well. So it's not flat. It's a beast of a guitar. It's got some
it looks really nice
on it as well. At time of filming this, I haven't done a video of this one yet, but it might be out by the time we release this video. So there'll be a link if there's one ready. Yeah. If not,
I like that.
Early January 2024. But this is a fantastic guitar. Very, very nice to play, and I look forward to documenting it further. But yeah, Vintage have got a bunch of new guitars this year and a bunch of new ranges as well. Like they had the, is it the REVO range? And
I've seen
like
those.
Lots of really, really interesting stuff. Like not just like copies or homages to more famous models, but like some more sort of retro inspired, but also original designs, different pickup types and stuff as well. So I'm really excited to try some of those out. Yeah,
I did a lot of stuff with Vintage in the early days of the channel. I did maybe 5 or 6 different videos for different guitars that they had. I did a lot with their 25th anniversary line where they did all their shapes, but in Silverburst.
Silverburst, yeah.
Those are great guitars. Those are really good guitars.
And again, stuffed full of Wilkinson hardware, Wilkinson pickups and tuners and stuff like that, which is great stuff.
Yeah. And they're still more on the affordable end of the spectrum, even though I've noticed some of their stuff, I'm guessing that 335 style one, the prices are going up. So they are starting to charge a little bit more for guitars because you're getting more of a premium instrument, but they're still affordable in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, prices of everything have gone up significantly, and I also noticed that the vintage stuff has gone up. The V65, which is a satin offset type, I think the retail price on the website is $449 in British pounds. So it's similar to a Squier Classic Vibe these days.
Yeah.
Maybe a tiny bit more, maybe a tiny bit less, depending on where you live. And this one, the VSA, I think they've got it on their site for $699. So that's
right.
Moving into the mid-price range almost, but.
Yeah, that sounds about right to kind of where I've seen them going for, because I remember when I first started playing guitar, I remember vintage guitars, they only really had SGs and Les Paul copies at that point.
Yeah.
And they were all £249 or whatever everywhere. That was just the price of them. Yeah. Was it the VS6? Was that the SG?
Yeah, the SG type was the VS6, and the
friend of mine had one of
the V100s, yeah.
The V100, that's it. A friend of mine had one of the SGs, they're great.
They are great guitars, some of them. Some of them didn't bond with me quite so much, but some of their guitars are great. And Vintage is it's sort of an under the radar brand in a way.
It is, yeah.
There are other kind of affordable brands like Harley Benton, which get all the plaudits and stuff, but Vintage is churning out top quality stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be good to see them kind of get more into the kind of spotlight with it, really.
It would. They should start working more with people like you and me.
They should.
They really should. Maybe in 2024. But yeah, guitar-wise, from me, that's it. Definitely from new stuff. Anything else from your side before we move on?
Honourable mention for my new Revstar. Again, not a new piece of gear, but I only got one this year. And I've been after one for a long time since you introduced me to them. Yeah.
I had mine on the short list to talk about as well, but I decided for time reasons not to mention it, and because it's not from this year, but I've only had this one since this year, and it's a fantastic instrument. Already.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Revstar with P90s, yeah.
It's like this isn't a piece of gear that was released this year, but it's just a piece of gear that I acquired this year. So it's kind of like an honourable mention, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, the new Revstar lineup, well, it's not brand new anymore, but the newest Revstar lineup is just like vintage in a way, like super underrated, but they're fantastic instruments.
Oh, yeah.
I've played so many of them now in so many different locations and events and in different stores and that, and they've all been amazing, like setups in the shops and that as well, just perfect players, most of them, yeah.
Yeah, they're just great.
Yeah, fantastic guitars. Do like a good Revstar. I wish they'd do that with, revamp some of their other lines, like the Pacifica or whatever, because that would be about time, I reckon.
Yeah, some of the higher end Pacificas are great. So it would be cool to see them kind of do some new stuff with that range.
Yeah, well, maybe they will, because, it's been a couple of years or a year and a half since the Revstars. Maybe it's time next year for them to do something like that.
Quite possibly.
I think they should. Yeah, so if you're watching Yamaha, we both want you to do it, so go for it. Yeah. Alrighty then, guitars. Let's move on to the natural bedfellow, which would be, well, pedals or amps. Pedals? Yeah. Let's go with pedals.
Pedals? Do you want to go first or shall I?
You go first, as the visitor.
Okay. My favourite pedal that's come out this year, at the time of shooting this video, isn't actually released, but by the time this video goes out, it will be released, so I can talk about it, is this thing. Put it up close to the camera so you can see. This is the new version of the Wampler Tumnus. So the Tumnus has been around for a couple of years now, I guess. It's their take on the clone, or the clon. It's a clone of a clone. But this one is called the Germanium Tumnus. And this has germanium transistors. Transistors or diodes? Transistors, I think. Someone will correct me on that. But basically, the germanium transistors that went out of stock, which were the whole reason that Bill Finnegan stopped making the original clones, because he couldn't get these diodes or transistors, I forget which one. Brian Wampler actually managed to find some of them and put them in these. So these are going to be like super limited edition. I think he's only making like a couple of hundred of them. And then when they're gone, because you literally can't get the parts for them. This is probably my favourite pedal I've played all year, because it's just, it just sounds perfect. Out of all the clones I've ever played, this has the right sound and the right feel.
And how many clones have you played over the years?
Probably 10. I don't want to profess to be like an expert that's played every single one, but just in my experience, the ones I've played, like this is kind of the most natural feeling. I haven't even played a real clone, but I've heard thousands of records with clones on, and this gets the closest to that, to me anyway, at least.
So it's the magic germanium diodes.
It's either diodes or transistors. I always forget which one.
I think it's diodes, but
I
think
you're
right. It's the germanium,
Yeah, it's the germanium stuff. But yeah, Brian Wampler managed to actually find some of the original diodes. I don't know where he got them, but he found a box of them somewhere. And they made a super limited run of these. And yeah, when they're gone as well. So there's going to be no more made after that.
So is it going to be a very expensive version of the Tumnus then as well?
You would think that. They're going to retail for £180.
Which is not too dissimilar to the standard ones, right?
Yeah. I was really surprised when I found out the price, because I thought, obviously with it being limited and the parts basically not being available, you probably would bump the price up. But no, Brian's been very fair and kept it right in the ballpark. So it's affordable for everyone, which is cool. It's not. This isn't the pedal that's going to be like, only the elite can afford this thing. This is literally available to anyone who can get their hands on one.
In theory, I totally agree, but in practice, the sad truth is that 190 of the 200 will be bought by people who will sell it for 10 times the price on
that's my
websites the day after. That's the unfortunate times that we live in.
Yes, I do foresee that these are going to go up online. I agree with that fully. I even actually said that to my contact at Wampler in the UK. I actually said to him, you should charge more for them because people are already going to resell them for more money anyway. So, you know, someone's got to benefit, so it might as well be you guys that are building them, you know. So, but yeah, they've done a really good thing and kept it very affordable. But I agree. I do think people will flip these for a little bit more because of the kind of the rarity of them and how close they're going to be to an original clone, which obviously now the prices the prices are getting closer to 10 grand now, so they are getting very silly now.
It's crazy, yeah. There's no way that Wampler can win with the pricing on that, of course. Like, if they make it really expensive, people will complain. If they make it cheap enough or affordable enough that scalpers can afford to buy it, then scalpers will scalp and people will complain. So it's like, you know, catch-22 there. But I think that, I mean, I'm experiencing this pedal for the first time filming this with you. Like, I've not heard it, but I assume it's very, very cool. So that looks decent. Are you getting to keep that one?
I am, yes. Yeah.
Great.
Yep, this is going straight on my pedal board. As soon as I rebuild it, probably next week maybe, it's going straight on it because I love it. But yeah, it's a great pedal. My video will be out on the 7th of December, so by the time you watch this video, my video will already be out there anyway.
Links. There's going to be a lot of links underneath this video, but there you
go.
The
links are going to be longer than the video.
Yeah.
And that takes some doing when it comes to us too.
Yeah.
We do like a long video.
Yeah. So that's out on the 7th of December. Alrighty. I actually don't have a clon type pedal in my list this year, but one pedal that I did want to talk about, which I haven't actually played, and I think is probably the best marketing that I've ever seen for a pedal, or indeed any kind of guitar item, would be the JHS Notaklön, which was 2 or 3 weeks ago from when we're filming this, or mid-November or something like that. And since they released that pedal, which is like a $99 build-your-own-kit version of a clon, they've sold over 13,000 of them, which is absolute madness.
Yeah.
But
if you do the math there, someone's made a lot of money.
Someone's made a lot of money, and it's absolutely fantastic marketing, and I can't say any more good words about it. But at the end of the day, it is going to be another clone. So it's like, in terms of
I'd love to try one though and actually hear how it sounds.
Huh?
I'd love to try one and actually hear how it sounds.
Yeah, me too. I want to order one. And I think, like so many guitarists, when I first saw the video, I put one in my basket straight away, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy one of these. But then I saw that it was quite expensive to get it delivered to Europe, and I was like, well, I'll wait for a bit. And then the first 3,000 sold out within hours. So I was like, okay, I'll wait a bit more. Now they've sold 13,000, and I'm like, okay, I can wait a bit because it's not going to be a limited run or anything like that. But yeah, I would love to build one at some point. And that's the beauty of that marketing, you know. It's like, even an idiot can do it, and one day I will. So that's awesome. Yeah, but it's a clone at the end of the day, so it's like, you know what it's going to sound like.
Yeah, but it'll be fun though. I definitely want to try one too.
The fact that they even have like a little like toothpaste tube with the black goop stuff in it that you don't need, but they just give it to you, and they give you so much of it. It's just, every aspect of that release was thought through so well. So I really, really like it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
they did a great job.
I haven't played that pedal yet. I can't comment on it, but we both know what it's going to sound like. So I've got a few pedals on the table in front of me that I do want to talk about.
Okay.
And we'll start with today's favorite color scheme, which is golden black. And this is the 30th anniversary edition of the Nobels ODR1, which came out in autumn 2023 and is a fantastic sounding, well, it's transparent overdrive and a lot more than that, really. Are you familiar with the ODR1?
I've played and own a couple of ODR1 clones, but I've never played a real ODR1. But I need to. I really need to get my hands on one. Yeah.
Well, the clones are obviously very similar. This one is like, it's gold and sparkly, and it's a limited edition. Like, there's 5,000 of these or something like that. So not that limited, but it's a very, very cool pedal. Sounds great for so many different things. And one of the criticisms of the ODR1 is that it does have a little bit too much low end in it, and this has an adjustable bass cut on it. So it's like, they've made it more flexible in that context. So I think it's really, really decent. Yeah. Fantastic pedal. Sounds great with all of my guitars, with any amp I try it with. So yeah, had to be on this list.
Yeah, I really want to try an ODR1. I've got a Wampler Bell, and that's their take on the ODR1. Yeah. And that also has the bass control as well, to make it a little bit more tweakable. and I've got the Leigh Fuge, the super terrific overdrive. That's another like take on it as well.
Oh yeah.
But because I've not played an original one, I don't have the original sound to compare how close those two are. But I trust the builders will get them pretty close. You know, you're talking about George Trips and Brian Wampler. You know, those guys know what they're doing. they've made a few pedals in their time.
What's next on your pedal list then? What else have you had this year?
This thing is very cool. Great Eastern Effects company from the UK, Designer Drive. It's sort of an overdrive pedal that is many different overdrive pedals in one, because you have this really cool like 6-position switch in the middle, and it changes the sound from quite like a thin kind of overdrive to a really fat overdrive, and there's like 6 different positions. And there's an edge switch which kind of shifts like I think the mid-range, so you can kind of essentially kind of design a drive. You can kind of design your own sound with it, really. Like some overdrives, you plug them in and they just have a sound. This thing you can kind of do whatever you want within the realms of, you know, the gain range that it has. For instance, it's more vintage voiced in terms of gain, but you can do a lot with the tonal flexibility of it, because you can make it sound quite thin, you can make it sound quite kind of fat and woolly. So it's a really cool kind of like do-all pedal. If you need like a pedal to kind of sound like something else, this can kind of do that as well. It's very versatile. Yeah, really cool. Like it's only a small company from the UK, but they only make like 3 or 4 different pedals, and this is one of them, and it's really, really good. It's a lot of fun.
That looks really interesting. I've not heard of it before. I assume you've got video footage of this on your channel that I can watch.
Yeah, I have a video on it.
Again, but wow, okay.
They do another pedal which is called the small speaker overdrive, which kind of sounds like a crank tweed amp.
Yeah.
And they also do a pedal called the Focus Fuzz, which is kind of like a fuzz face, but a little bit more flexible. So you can actually like dial it in to cut through live, rather than like if you've ever gigged with a fuzz face, when you turn it on, your sound just disappears from the mix altogether. They kind of rectified all those problems with it and made it a little bit more refined. And this is this is their overdrive. Yeah, it's great. All kind of handmade in Cambridge in the UK. Again, not super expensive. I think they're just over £200. Yeah, really good. Really, really good stuff. Great pedals.
I might have to investigate further with that, because that looks like it's my cup of tea exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it, because like the width control really lets you kind of go from like almost like a clean boost, like or treble booster kind of thing, through to like not fuzz, but like a real kind of fat overdrive. Not high gain, but just like dense sounding. And you can kind of find everything in between as well.
Yeah. What's really interesting about that is that like it lets you design a drive, it lets you do all this flexibility, and there's been another pedal that's come out like either this year or last, the Kernum Ridge, which you've clearly got right there. Which
I published a video on it last week.
Oh, okay. Well, good timing. Yeah, which offers that kind of thing, and has clearly had a lot more publicity put out about it, and that aims to let you design any kind of drive that you would want. And yet this seems to do a similar sort of thing in a much more unassuming package.
Yes. I guess, the principle's kind of the same. The Kernum is more flexible only because it covers a much wider spectrum of gain. So like the Kernum can literally do a clean boost, and it can go up to like an almost fuzz, whereas this is kind of more of just like a vintage overdrive that you can change the tone of quite drastically. So this kind of sits in like a segment of what the Kernum can do, but the Kernum can do stuff that this can't do.
Yeah.
And this is obviously like, this is just analog, whereas the Kernum is like, you can have like 128 MIDI presets with it. In theory, you could have a MIDI switcher and the Kernum Ridge and never need to buy another overdrive pedal again, because you could save 128 different overdrive pedals to it. Whereas this is just for the guy like me that just wants to turn a knob and get a good sound.
Yeah. Also, like, where's the fun in never wanting to buy an overdrive pedal again?
Exactly.
That I just don't get. But the Kernum Ridge, it's an analog pedal, right? With digital switching. It's not digital modeled drives, is it?
Don't believe so. They call it augmenting.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm not really sure exactly what that means, but that's kind of what they say. it's like, it's kind of analog, but it has like digital functionality because it's got like MIDI presets and it looks very futuristic as well.
It looks awesome. Yeah, I was thinking about Kernum a lot recently because this year I've been getting back into Fuzz as an effect because I hated it for a long time and I've started to get into it. And Kernum have a Fuzz version of the Kernum Ridge as well, right?
Yes.
Like a kind of yellowy one.
Yeah. Yeah, same package, but just yellow. And it deals with
Same
fuzz.
principle, and you can dial in any kind of fuzz, basically. Yeah.
What I also like about these is they're really heavy. This is like just under £2. So if you were ever in the situation where you needed to pull a pedal off your pedal board mid-gig and throw it at someone, this would be a good one because this would do some damage. and these corners are really sharp, so you could hurt someone with this thing if you needed to. So it's a great pedal, but also good for self-defense.
Yeah. That's very practical and therefore probably worth the extra money.
Yeah. And I reckon, actually, price-wise, there's not too much difference in them. But I guess the difference being these are like a bigger company, so these are probably produced at scale, whereas these are literally like one guy and his wife making them. So it's a much smaller operation compared to these guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both kind of fill the same pocket, I guess, in that they're very flexible drives that don't sound like anything, but they also sound like everything. Like you can make this sound like a tube screamer if you want. You could probably get a clon type sound out of it, or you could just kind of do whatever, kind of come up with something new.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So my next pedal takes me back to kind of this fuzz thing, because like I was saying, I've got on a bit of a journey with fuzz this year, trying to get into it again. I hated it for a long time for whatever reason. I've kind of been listening to garage rock for a long time and never really liked fuzz as a player.
Yeah.
And this year I sort of started to get fuzzed up a little bit again. And this pedal that I'm going to reveal to you now, the Beetronics Nectar, is actually a pedal that's really helped me transition again from overdrive to fuzz, because it's so easy to get to grips with, so easy to use, so simple, and yet it sounds so good for overdrive and fuzz.
Yeah.
And now Beetronics is a brand that you're probably familiar with, right? But I don't know if you know the Nectar.
I've done a couple of videos for Beetronics, the Octahive and the Vespa, as well as a couple of Gear Street videos on like different things. But that one I haven't tried, no.
Okay. So this one was brand new in, I think, October of 2023.
Okay.
And it's probably the most simple of all of the Beetronics pedals, because they're renowned for like giving you extra things that you can do with foot switches and weird kind of synthy sort of sounds and octaves and crazy tones and stuff like that. And I don't understand most of the pedals, but this one's super easy because like you've got two circuits. You've got a switch here to go between the overdrive and the fuzz circuit. Well, I say two circuits, it's one circuit that does overdrive or fuzz.
Yeah.
And with each of the sounds, you've got gain, volume, and tone controls. It's that easy to use. And the fuzz on it is so forgiving sounding and yet so huge sounding at the same time that for me, it was so easy to get to grips with, and it gave me a taste again for fuzz tones. So it's been a fantastic gateway pedal in that sense. And yet I am now kind of, as we speak, jumping into that rabbit hole of fuzz again and probably going to spend a bunch of money on it next year because it's an expensive rabbit hole to fall into. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's a good rabbit hole.
It's a great rabbit hole, and this is a great pedal to get you into it. The drive on it's really good. Like it does they call it a tweed style overdrive, so it's kind of a low to medium gain drive. It does kind of transparent stuff, and it rocks out a bit more. And the fuzz, they call it a modern high gain fuzz. I don't think it's modeled after any other famous fuzz, like Fuzz Face or Big Muff or anything like that. But it just does massive fuzzy tones, and it does everything from like, for me, like vintagey, garage rocky sort of fuzzes to really thick, sort of dirty, kind of sludgy sort of stuff. So a really great pedal, and I heartily recommend that you try it.
That's cool. I wonder how close the fuzz circuit is to, on the Octahive, you can switch off the octave up and have just the fuzz circuit. I wonder how close that fuzz circuit is to the Nectar.
I've never tried the Octahive, and I think it would be a really interesting thing to test.
Yeah.
Because I honestly don't know. But like, I think they made this one specifically in mind of kind of someone like me who might be a bit hesitant with fuzz to get them into it. So it wouldn't surprise me if this was like a simplified or watered down circuit version of one of the other pedals.
I do find with fuzz, like, it's an effect that it's not as instant to get into as like a good overdrive, because fuzz isn't the sound you use all the time. And I think with fuzz, you everyone as a player, not just you, but everyone has to find their own kind of favorite fuzz. And I think when you find your favorite one or one that works for you, then you kind of get it. Because I was the same. I didn't get it for years until I found one that I really liked, and then that changes everything then.
Yeah, like fuzz is such a personal thing, and it's also something where if you listen to YouTube videos, like you're probably not gonna experience what it's like when you put it through your rig and play it yourself, because it's kind of affected by the guitar, by the rig, by the other pedals that you've got, by the amp, and by the way you play so much compared to a standard overdrive pedal would be, for example. So it's a totally personal thing. And for me, like, I disliked fuzz for years because one of my very first pedals when I was a kid was actually a black box EHX Russian Big Muff. And I loved Nirvana at the time, and it did that kind of noise, but I was also playing Green Day and Rage Against the Machine, and I just thought that any kind of dirt pedal was a distortion pedal would do that sort of stuff. And when I wanted to try and get tighter sort of sounds, palm muting and stuff like that, or Rage Against the Machine tones, the Russian Big Muff wasn't doing it for me, and that really put it into my mind that fuzz was not a good effect, and so I didn't like it for ages.
I really don't like Big Muffs. Like, I just can't get on with the sound of them, which I always hate because I hear other people playing them and I think they sound great, and then whenever I plug into one, it just doesn't work for me.
Well, I've spent the last few weeks meticulously researching Big Muffs, and I've just bought the standard Nano Big Muff Pi. Last week I literally bought one. The first time I've bought a fuzz like that in, a couple of decades or whatever. So I'm really looking forward to getting into it and seeing how it compares to how I remember it, and how it compares to the other like classic tones that I know from muffs and other fuzzes and stuff like that. Yeah, but
the only Big Muff that I've ever really gotten on with slightly is the Jupiter FX Warlow. Yeah, because he's done something slightly different to the filtering, so it's not as sludgy. You get the gain, but it's got a bit more kick to it, and that I still don't love the Big Muff sound, but out of all the ones I've tried, that's the one that I felt the most comfortable playing.
Yeah, that might be something for me to try as well then, because I mean, I come from the overdrive side, and I do love a bit more control over my sounds, and so that might work for me as well.
If you grew up like in Nirvana, you'd probably like this Jupiter FX Bleach. It's called the Seattle Guitar Destroyer. It's been on my desk for weeks because I filmed a video with it a couple of weeks ago, and it's just been kind of sat there. And when you mentioned Nirvana then, I thought, oh yeah, I've got that thing on my desk. One side of it is a chorus, which is kind of has that kind of like, what's the Electro-Harmonix chorus?
The Small Stone?
Yeah, it's that kind of vibe, like a one-knob chorus thing with a 3-position switch. Yeah. And then the other side is like a cross between like a DS1 and a Rat.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, if that's the sound you're going for, that's pretty much that in a box.
The Bleach, right? I'll have to try one of those as well. Like,
it's called the Seattle Guitar Destroyer.
Sounds
so
like
it kind of tells you there what it's going to do.
If I'm into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is that a new pedal, the Bleach, or not?
I think Chris released it last year.
Okay.
But I think he's had another big push on them this year, because I only got that one a couple of months ago.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Or maybe he released it like maybe the start of the year. But yeah, it's newish.
Yeah.
It's less than 2 years old.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, something else for me to investigate. That's another reason I love doing these videos with you every year now, because it's like there are so many things that I haven't seen, and it's like I get to like listen to you and then go and check most of them out, because I know your taste and I know that this stuff is probably going to be working for me as well, so that's always cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Moving from mad distortion sounds to my next overdrive pedal.
Yep.
And this one is a much more affordable one, and it's a very transparent one. It's the NUX 65. Don't know if you're familiar with this specific pedal. The brand NUX, I'm sure you'll be
NUX, not that low.
Very affordable overdrives and other effects as well. And the 65 is actually, it's a Timmy type pedal, but it's based on the Vemoram Janray.
Right.
Which itself was based on the Timmy. And this one is based on the pedal that was based on the Timmy, and it's about $50, €50, £50, $50, whatever, and it sounds amazing. It has that beautiful sort of sparkliness that it adds to your sound, and yet you keep the character of your guitar and your rig, and it sounds wonderful. And it has the same like weird trim pot thing as the Vemoram Janray as well, so you can tweak the kind of the character of the gain a bit as well. That's how you know that it's an homage to a specific pedal, because it has that one specific thing. Yeah, lovely looking thing, lovely sounding thing, and it's been so under the radar that I'm really disappointed that not more people are learning about this pedal. So try it. Really, really good.
That's cool.
I found out about this at NAMM. It was just there on a pedal board at the NAMM show on the New X stand.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's this? He was like, oh yeah, it's a transparent overdrive. And I'm like, okay, sold. So
see, I spent quite a bit of time at the New X booth in NAMM, and he showed me everything else other than that. I think I saw every other new product, but not that one.
Yeah, so talk to them and get one of these and try it. And I think you will love it, because if you like clones and if you like ODR1 sort of things, if you dig that sort of low gain to medium gain, transparent drives, this one will be right up your street.
Well, I've got an MXR Timmy on my pedal board, so
yeah,
it's a sound that I'm already kind of ingrained in.
This one kind of, I've also got the MXR Timmy and the Paul Cochran Timmy, and this one being based more on the Jan Ray, it has like, there's maybe in some settings like a slight extra thickness to it, a richness. And maybe in some contexts, I even prefer it for some things. It's a really fantastic pedal. One pedal that I've never tried is the Janray, because I always kind of bailed out of that, frankly, ridiculous pricing and stuff like that. But I'll have to try it one time and see what it's like.
Yeah, I really want a Paul Cochran Timmy. I got offered one recently for a really good price, but it's so close to Christmas. Even the really good price is like, oh, I can't justify buying one right before Christmas.
Yeah, they are amazing pedals, and like, the prices on these ones are starting to get ridiculous. So if you do find one at a reasonable price when it's not for Christmas, snap it up before they go mad.
How do you find it compares to the MXR one?
I was literally going to say, having said that, the MXR, in my opinion, is 98% there. They're almost identical. I've actually got a video where I just I sit down with these two pedals and a couple of other Timmy derivatives and just play a loop and twist the knobs and that, and you can hear that in most settings they are very, very similar. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But there's always something about having the original as well that makes you play that little bit differently, that little bit better. It's an inspirational thing as well, That was going to be my next question. Is that 2% difference that we get from knowing it's the real deal, does that exist with the Timmy thing? Yeah, absolutely it exists.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go. So in that respect, even though the sounds may be almost identical in most contexts and in a band mix, like all the time, like no one notices the difference.
Yeah.
It is, in my opinion, worth every penny to get the original if that's what you love. So that's how I'm justifying paying too much money for that.
Yeah, well, I think you've sold it to me now as well. It's 2% better than I must need it.
It's worth 2% better, and it's worth the extra €100 or whatever it would be, something like that. Absolutely, get one. Yeah. Alrighty, have I got any other pedals? I've got two more that I could briefly show, which I really liked. One is actually back on the old transparent overdrive train. I bought this the other week because I saw it and it just worked really well for me. It's the Electro Harmonics Spruce Goose.
Okay.
Which is their take on a blues breaker, so another sort of transparent overdrive sort of thing, a King of Tony sort of thing. Just sounds really good.
Yeah.
Did I need another blues breaker pedal? No. Did it sound nice? Did I want to have it? Yes, I did, and so I did.
Why not?
I mean, it's pretty standard. Looks cool. It's got a lift switch, so you can add like up to, I think, 21 decibels to the input signal for extra chunk, stuff like that. So it's got that, but
yeah, that's the big problem with the blues breaker, because I've got one of the original ones, and it sounds incredible, but there's just no volume on it.
Yeah.
Like unity gain is like 4 o'clock on the volume control. So
yeah.
There's nowhere to go from there,
Yeah, it's the same with this. It does that blues breaker thing, and I don't know if you also find this with blues breakers, but I find them to be very dark when the gain's down low.
Yes.
Like if I'm down at like 9 or 10 o'clock on the gain, I've got to have the treble maxed all the way. That's just a little that's just a quirk of the blues breaker, and I think even when you're kind of doing that circuit, you want to keep it true to what it is and have that darkness in this case and like the less output. So yeah.
That's something that Analogman rectified with the King of Tone, because there's treble trim pots inside. So you can dial the gain back, but you can dial the treble up. And well, it doesn't dial the treble up as such, but it increases the range of the tone control.
Yeah.
So you can actually get more range out of the tone control, therefore getting a brighter sound with less gain.
Yeah. I'm actually really excited to compare this to the King of Tone when I get the King of Tone, because I've come to the top of the list. Again, as we talked about before we started to film. I think last year we talked about the King of Tone in our rundown.
Yes.
And you mentioned last year the MXR Duke of Tone, which was going to end up on your pedal board possibly. And you've made progress on that front since, haven't you?
I have, yes. I did a video for the MXR Duke of Tone when it was released last, I want to say July, I think it came out.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I filmed the video in July, but the pedal was released in September last year.
Okay, yeah.
And I really wanted one, but there was no stock in the UK, and basically like all the units that the distributor had been pre-sold to all the dealers. So basically the pedals were coming in and they were going straight back out the door. So there was no pedals left for anyone to buy direct. So I said to them, as soon as one becomes available, like, I will buy one off you the second there's one free. And I was even very insistent in saying, I don't even want you to send me one. I want to buy one, like, because I just need to own one. And I moved house this year, and a week after I moved in, one showed up as a housewarming present. So I finally have one, thanks to the kind people at MXR in the UK.
That is really kind. That is really nice of them. And thumbs up to MXR, by the way, for doing the Duke of Tone, which is the King of Tone, officially with Analogman together, and also doing the Timmy with Paul Cochran together, making these official sort of licensed versions of these hard-to-get original boutique overdrive pedals and making it accessible to everybody. I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the really cool things, because like Mike Piera from Analogman was completely involved with the design of it. And he even says on his website, if you're waiting for a King of Tone or a Prince of Tone, buy one of these and you can have that sound right now. And then if you like it and you want to wait for the big thing, then you can join the list. But you can have that sound right away. Because what it does is it deters people from upselling them, which is a big problem that the Analogman have with the King of Tone, is that people are buying them and then selling them for crazy amounts of money, whereas you can buy a Duke of Tone and it's got the sound.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and I hadn't thought about that. But that kind of that goes back to that kind of scalpers thing that we mentioned earlier with the Germanium Tumnus thingy, and it's like when I look at used gear listings over here for Kings of Tone, it's like around about the €1,000 mark, which is, what's that, like a 250% markup on what it costs to buy an original one if you get to the top of the list.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, considering the I don't want to use the word hype, but the mystique around the King of Tone, they're actually a lot cheaper to buy than people think they are. And you'll know this because you're at the top of the list now. If you actually buy one from Analogman, I think they're like $240 or something, which is like £200. It's cheaper than most boutique pedals you can buy off the shelf in your local store. Yeah. Granted, the shipping and the insurance costs a little bit extra on top, but that's kind of part of bringing it over from the States. But then, like you say, when you go online, you see them for £1,000. It's like 5 times more than what Analogman are charging, which is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And for you, owning the MXR Duke of Tone and also the King of Tone, and having all of them on your gigging pedal board, by the way, would you say, is it similar to the Timmy thing with the MXR Timmy? Is it like that 2% difference, or is it even closer than that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, there is. I don't know if it's just me, but I can hear a difference. Even if I've got it set the same, there's something about the real King of Tone that just sounds a little richer. That's not to say that the Duke of Tone sounds incredible, but I feel that the real King of Tone has a little bit more like low end kick to it that the Duke of Tone doesn't. And I mean, I don't know whether that's down to, like, you know, you could go down the rabbit hole of saying, well, the Duke of Tone is produced in a small pedal, it's got really small components, and the King of Tone has full size components inside. Is that a factor? I don't know, but there's a slight difference. Not a huge difference, but I've been playing the King of Tone for so long that I feel that there's a slight difference. But yeah, I mean, I guess most people, like you said, in a band mix would never know.
Yeah. But again, it's just, it's also that inspiration factor of owning the real thing. So there will always be that market for people who don't want to wait the 5+ years to own the pedal. If you've got €1,000, you can buy it for yourself straight away. Yeah, exactly.
I wanted the Duke of Tone because I don't like taking my King of Tone on tour with me because of like the rarity of it. I don't want to wait 5 years for another one, you know. But I like the King of Tone and the Duke of Tone so much that they've actually now both ended up on my pedal board. So instead of like one replacing the other, now they're just both on there. So why not?
Have you got like a pedal board playthrough where we can hear like what the 3 different parts of them are doing? Because I'd be really interested to hear how you're using them.
Yeah, I don't at the moment, but I'm rebuilding my pedal board soon, ready, because I've got a hectic year next year on the road. So I'm doing like a pedal board overhaul in the next couple of weeks, which I will be filming. And that will be, I'll include that in that, because my current pedal board has done like 3 or 4 years worth of gigs, and like I've never changed any of the patch cables and stuff, so I'm like recabling it all. I'm changing all my power cables. I'm literally like taking it completely apart and rebuilding it from scratch to give it a new lease of life for next year. But yeah, both are on there.
Cool. I look forward to watching that when it comes out then. Any more pedals on your list for 2023?
I don't think so. I think those are probably the main ones that I've really kind of loved this year.
I got a couple more that I want to mention then.
Yeah.
Another overdrive, but this is one that also flew massively under the radar. I don't even know if you've heard of this pedal, for example, but it's the Greer Black Mountain Crunch Drive.
Oh, I've heard of Greer, but not that pedal.
Now, Greer is, of course, massively famous for the Lightspeed organic overdrive, and another one of these amazing transparent drives, which is also based on the Timmy circuit and topology and stuff.
Sure.
And that is my go-to drive pedal. It's been in basically everything I do. The Black Mountain Crunch Drive is a slightly higher gain Marshall in a box sort of a thing.
Okay.
And it's based on a single album. It's based on the tone from Permission to Land by The Darkness. It's trying to nail that tone in a box.
Oh.
And it's a fantastic pedal, and it sounds like Permission to Land in a box, at least to me. Now, I know that Dan, the guitarist from The Darkness, Dan Hawkins, was using Marshalls on that album. Apparently, Justin Hawkins was using Marshalls and also Mesa Boogies. So it's not like 100% clear what was going on. But if I plug into this, I feel like I'm a very bad performing version of The Darkness from that album. So I love that album, and I love the tones from this pedal.
Have you seen, you might not even have seen this, this new pedal is literally just launched, and I've tried to get my hands on one, but I haven't managed to yet, and it's called the Permission to Land by
by them, right?
Hawkins Brothers Audio. And it's literally a 2-side overdrive, Justin and Dan.
Yeah. Is that available to buy as of us filming this video?
I think so, or at least pre-orders. No, actually, no. I'm sure one of my friends has just had delivery of one. So yeah,
maybe I should pre-order one of those pedals as well, because this is a fantastic sounding pedal, and I've always loved Permission to Land, and the tones on it are fantastic, and it's a very inspirational album for me as well. So it's like, maybe I'll look into the Hawkins one.
I'm going to see them next week in Bristol, playing that album from start to finish.
You know, in November, I went to Munich for a family do, and I didn't think to do this. Normally, whenever I go anywhere, I check out what gigs are going on. But we were there for a do on the Saturday night, and on the Sunday morning, I was like, I wonder what gigs have been going on in Munich this weekend. And The Darkness were there in a tiny little place the night before, and I was gutted because that would have been sensational. It's been 20 years or whatever since I've seen them, you know. And I think they were on the 20th anniversary tour of Permission to Land. So
that's what they're doing in the UK.
The whole record, which would have been amazing. But there you go.
Yeah, that's what they're doing in the UK next week. I'm going up to Bristol to see them.
Oh,
so it should be fun.
Enjoy it.
I'll send you some pictures.
Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I love that record. It's amazing, and I love Justin's YouTube channel as well. But there you go. Yeah. So that pedal's definitely worth mentioning, and because I have to mention one pedal that is not a transparent overdrive or a drive of some kind, I wanted to go for the Sidekick Junior by Crazy Tube Circuits.
Nice.
This is a 3-in-1 pedal which has modulation, it has delay, and it has reverb. And for me personally, like, I use a fair bit of reverb In fact, I have a reverb on almost all of the time, like a small reverb. Delays I quite often like for a bit of extra fatness to my tone, but I've never done that much with modulation, and this pedal kind of taught me that modulation is good. Again, it's opened like a rabbit hole to me for modulations, but it's just... They also marketed it as being around like giving you an 80s sort of a tone. You know, like big plate reverbs and like Boss-inspired choruses and stuff like that, and digital delays. But for me, it does a lot more than that. Like, it does a lot of nice ambient stuff, and it just, I don't know, the way that the three different effects sort of meld together, it works really well for me. So I don't know if you've checked this one out, but if you haven't, I would recommend it, of course.
Yeah, I want to. I want to, and I've expressed my interest to check it out, but that conversation hasn't gone any further yet.
Okay, well,
but I would like
tell them to watch this video, and we'll get it done.
The only thing, and even though I've not tried either of them, I do have a slight criticism with the Junior, because the original Sidekick was kind of designed to replicate that 80s studio tone where everyone just plugged straight into the mixing desk. So it had a DI output.
Yeah.
But they've removed that from the Sidekick Junior.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
But I kind of feel like that was part of the thing, like that 80s direct to the desk sound. Like, you can't do that with the new one because it doesn't... You could plug the pedal straight into a desk, but having the DI out kind of helped that, make sure the signal is consistent and everything. It was a bit more truer to the sound that they were going for, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I personally was not familiar with the story behind the original Sidekick when I got the Sidekick Junior, and you make a good point. I didn't realize that the original was also kind of sort of focused on this 80s sort of a sound. I'm not an 80s person at all, so I was never going to be wanting to get 80s sounds out of it. But for me, I saw it as a totally different sort of a thing. But if you were buying this one expecting to get those DI sort of tones, then you would not have that option, that's for sure.
Exactly, yeah, unless you added your own DI box to it.
Yeah.
Because even though you could just plug it straight in, there's just something about the way the DI will balance the levels, and it'll just give you an extra kick. Yeah. But it sounds great from all the demos, though. Like, I've watched everyone's demos on the Sidekick Junior, and it sounds great.
Okay, then. So let's go from pedals to amplifiers. And I can start by saying straight away that it's been a slow year for amps for me. Any amps from your side that have blown you away this year?
Yes, I've got one by the side of me. Only a little thing, but this is really cool. It's from a small Belgian company called Birdsong Amps.
Okay,
and it's
new to me.
It's called a Kestrel, and it's like a tweed Princeton kind of circuit. They do these like really cool like old school Fender amp kind of clones essentially. But the Kestrel is like I think it's like 5 or 8 watts. It's not super loud, but volume wise it is quite loud. But in terms of headroom, it's not that loud.
Yeah.
But they all retail for like under like £500, like €500. I think this is something like 380, 400, something like that. It's crazy affordable.
Really?
Yeah. So they're all made
in Belgium.
They're made in China and then sent to Belgium, and the guy that puts on kind of finishes them off. But they all come, like, this has got a Celestion 1030 speaker in it as well. So you get like premium speakers with them and everything, and yeah, really good.
That's pretty cool. I've never heard of Birdsong at all, so I've got to check this out.
Yeah, I've been trying to get a real kind of vintage sounding tweed amp for a long time, but they're just so expensive to get, like old ones. Yeah. And all the boutique companies are charging prices equivalent to the vintage ones. So it's like, if you're going to spend that money, you might as well just buy a 50s one. Yeah, and then I found these guys through Andy Ferris, because he did a video on this amp as well, and Crenard did a video on either this one or the slightly smaller one. And I tried it out, and it's exactly what I wanted from that kind of amp. It's like, it's a nice clean amp, and then you turn it up and it just sounds like Keith Richards. So perfect. Yeah, nice.
And I guess because it's like, modeled on the vintage amps, it doesn't have anything like a DI out or anything like that. It's just a totally simple circuit.
Yes. Straight to the point. I actually had this modded by an amp tech that I know, because I do a lot of stuff with the Captor X. So I've actually had this modded with a speaker out, so I can disconnect the speaker. But if you buy one of these, the speaker is hardwired to the board. But I've had Yeah, I've had a mod done on this to disconnect the speaker so I can actually use it with an IR loader as well. It was an easy mod. It's basically just adding a jack output halfway between the cable, because the speaker's hardwired to the board. You just cut the cable and add a jack plug in a socket, and that's basically like the mod. You could do it yourself if you were handy with the soldering iron, but I didn't fancy soldering the inside of the amp a week after I got it.
Interesting.
So I took it to someone who knew what they were doing.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Bit of a risk to do it yourself.
Yeah, especially with amps as well, because you don't want to. There's a lot of things in there that can kill you. So
yeah, they can be lethal. That's for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, if you're looking for like a great kind of crank tweed amp, those are really cool.
Awesome. Definitely one for me to check out. And the first amp I want to talk about, I don't have here, but I see the brand name at the back of your room there, and it's going to be the Blackstar HT Venues. The Blackstar HT Venue Series Stage 100 Mark III, which I got to play at 42 Gear Street 5 and is just a fantastic, total opposite to the Birdsong, a fantastic modern day rock and roll head with the features that you need to play shows, to record and that sort of stuff. You're a big Blackstar fan, and I'm sure that you'll have tested this one.
I haven't tried that one yet.
What?
I haven't tried that one yet. I've heard it's fantastic, but I've not had the chance to actually try one yet. So
it's a great amp, and it was all over 42 Gear Street 5.
Yeah.
And I got to use it for a bunch of videos, and many other people did, and there have been many other videos recently. And with ranges like the St. James and the Amped series these days, Blackstar are kind of knocking it out of the park with different solutions for different kinds of people. And yeah, the Mark III of the HT Venue series, it sounds great. It's loud. It's just a really, really good amp for modern styles of music. And I really like it. And I also haven't done a video dedicated to it, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I want to check one out. They did the St. James plugin this year, and that was great as well. Like the VST version of the actual St. James, that's awesome.
That's something I would also mention. Like I did a video on that at 42 Gear Street 5 with Alex, who is the head of design at Blackstar, and with Mendel, a Dutch YouTuber who you also know, I believe. And we actually compared the St. James plugin to the real St. James amps.
Right.
So that was an interesting video, and it's a darn good plugin, I have to say that.
Yeah, it
sounds
really good.
Really, really good. Yeah. Have you done videos on it as well? Because I would link those too if the option is there.
I did a product launch video, and I actually published another video on it recently because they've just done an update to the plugin. And as part of the update, they actually asked me and a few other people to create some artist presets for it as well. So in the new updated version of the plugin, I've actually got some presets in there as well, which is quite cool.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I shall definitely be linking to those then. So that's it for Blackstar then. In terms of amps, the only other one that I would want to mention that I saw this year was the Revv D25 Combo.
Yes. I tried that now. That sounded great.
Yeah, I mean, Revv amps are great. We all know what they do, and everybody loves the D20 and the G20, and this is the D25 in combo format with all the same technological features and your ins and outs and stuff like that, your connectivity, great rev tones, and just a really, really wonderful little amplifier.
Yeah, it sounded. I tried it at NAMM and it sounded great. Really versatile, like really easy to get a good sound out of.
Yeah, takes pedals really well. Again, this was all over the place at 42 Gear Street, and just it seemed to work for everybody, no matter what kind of music you're making or whatever kind of guitar you plug into it. Just a really, really decent modern amplifier. Yeah,
that seems to be something that Revv are really good at, is just designing a product that just works for everyone. Like whatever you need, it will give you that.
Yeah. Especially if you're a modern flavored sort of a player. I mean, they do loads of stuff that work for vintage guys as well, but like, their modern stuff is just, it just ticks all of the boxes. It's like they're a company who listens to what people actually want and makes stuff based on that, instead of just creating stuff and telling you that you need to like it. Yeah. Yeah,
I think their high gain stuff is just some of the best on the market, I think. In terms of like what's the big one? The generator, the one that Henning's got, that's got about 3,000 different channels on. Like that thing is like an absolute monster. I'm actually afraid of that amp because it does too much for me. But what I've heard it do is incredible.
Yeah, it's a great amp. Yeah,
that's why I like this thing, because it's just got two knobs. It's got volume and tone. That'll do me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all you need at the end of the day, and you just have to focus on your playing and that. But yeah, the Blackstar that we just mentioned and the Rev, like they represent this new generation of amplification compared to the older Tweed style stuff. But I think
times are changing. Us old folk need to catch up.
Well, yeah, times are changing, and that was the next thing that I wanted to say. That like this year, it almost feels like, I don't want to say the death of tube amps or anything like that, because that's way over exaggerating it, but we're seeing more and more different solutions coming in that mean that amplifiers are no longer needed. Like this year, I've just listed a couple of things which have been there and have been prominent. And even like in the last couple of weeks, we've had Boss come out with the IR2. I don't know if you've seen that, but like that is a single overdrive pedal size, like thing that can replace your amp, and you can go straight to PA or mixer with that, and it sounds great. It costs $200. It's got a headphone out. Like, what more do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got that, and at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the Fender Tone Master Pro came out this year, which is their take on the Quad Cortex or the Fractal or anything like that, or the Kemper. Things like the Tone X have come out. So all the digital solutions and modeling solutions taken care of. And at the other side, we're seeing more and more people bring out analog and tube flavored things like this. And you've got stuff like the Friedman IRX, which have come out in pedal format. And again, are kind of taking away people's necessity to have a full-blown amplifier on stage or in the studio.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with my thoughts about this kind of stuff or how you see that.
I've seen it happen a lot. I still like real amps. I would choose using a real amp over a digital product any day, but there's a huge convenience from digital. Like in my own studio, I'm working in kind of a hybrid way, because I'm still using real amps, but I'm using the Captor X, so I'm not actually miking any speakers here.
Yeah.
Because that is like the best compromise, because I still get the real tube power amps, but with digital speaker simulation. But yeah, I mean, there's so much to be said for the convenience of digital now. Like you can take like the Tone Master or like Quad Cortex, something this big, you put it in your suitcase, you go anywhere in the world and you sound exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much convenience in that being an option now for guitar players.
Yeah, exactly. And sound-wise, they're getting closer, to replicating the analog stuff. And the feel is where they're different. The dynamics and the way they move the air is somehow different. But apart from that, getting real close. What amp do you use for your current gigging operations, by the way?
I'm flipping between two different ones at the moment, just based on what I feel like taking that week. And that is the Blackstar St. James 6L6, which is currently in here. And I've also got there's a Dutch company called Cool Amplification, and he built me an amp called the Blue Sky, which is kind of like it's kind of like a deluxe reverb sort of idea with a bit of the kind of Dumble thing thrown in. It's like super clean, like the headroom is ridiculous, like it's rated at 35 watts, but even if you turn the amp up full, it's still clean. And you could put a boost on and it gets louder but never kind of clips. So it's like it's got unlimited headroom. It's that kind of thing. Just because I like them both as just really good kind of tight, clean amps, and then I get all my sound from my pedal board then.
Yeah, okay.
But those are the two that I'm mainly gigging with. But I actually have my pedal board is set up in a way that I have a fail-safe on my board, which takes my amp out of the equation and feeds my guitar to the front of the house. So if my amp ever blew up on stage, I could convert my entire rig to digital with 2 foot switch presses and not have to like stop and mid-song or whatever. So I kind of built my rig with some redundancies in mind, which are digital. So even though I prefer using real amps, and I'm fortunate that I'm in a touring show that I can use real amps, I've always got something digital there just in case. So if there's ever a problem with the analog stuff, I can press a button and everything goes digital.
Yeah, very cool. What is that digital solution? People will be watching your pedalboard rundown video, but show me.
I'll be building this redundancy into my new pedalboard as well, but this is my old pedalboard. That needs a freshening up. So
I see it. It's one of these, isn't it?
Yes, that's it. So I've got this set up with real drive pedals, obviously. I'm using the HX Stomp XL for like modulation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also in the show that I currently play with, we don't have a live bass player. Our bass is all on a pre-recorded track. But there's an acoustic segment of the show that I do play bass for. So instead of carrying a bass rig for like 3 songs, I have this setup with 2 different patches, one of which feeds my amp on stage, and the other patch turns off the output to the amp and turns on an output to a DI box.
Yeah.
And that feeds the front of house, but that patch bypasses all of this stuff as well. It literally just goes tuner, HX Stomp, and then PA. But I've got a third patch set up that feeds this, which also feeds the DI box.
Yeah.
So if my amp went down on stage, I could change my patch on here, and instead of feeding my amp with all my pedals, it'll feed the ACS1.
Yes.
Which will then... So that's kind of like my fail-safe amp.
Yeah.
So if my real amp goes down, I've got this thing.
Yeah. The ACS1, I think, is not new for 2023. I think it came out last year. But
maybe even the year before.
Or maybe even the year before. But they recently did a massive firmware upgrade to it, which took it up a notch. And I'd never played the old version, but I've recently been getting into this one, and it is a great solution.
Okay. So admittedly, I haven't updated the firmware because I'm one of those people that when I get something working the way I want it to, I don't change it. So I'm the same with like Helix updates. I always wait until the Helix software goes up by like 2 or 3 versions before I even update.
Because you don't want the risk of it not working.
Yeah. So once something works, I like to leave it alone. Because I was actually speaking to the guys at like Face Distribution who handle Walrus in Europe. And he was saying to me, oh, you need to do the firmware update. I was like, I got it working the way I like it though. If I do the firmware update and it changes something, it's going to mess my gig up. So right now it works. I'm going to leave it alone. Until I need to do the update, I won't. So yeah, I've always got that anyway on hand because it sounds great as well.
Yeah, it sounds great, and it's that fail-safe. Just in case something goes wrong with the analog, you can rely on the digital.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't have been the way people thought about it 10 years ago or whatever, you know? It would have been like the digital would have been the non-trustworthy version, and yeah.
Exactly. And there's the Duke that we were talking about.
There it is.
And the King is down there.
There we go. All 3 of those beautiful gain stages.
Yeah.
Can you lift the pedal board up so I can see the whole thing? Because I can't quite see it all.
Yeah. It's quite heavy. I'm trying to fit it all in the webcam shot as well as the camera.
Beautiful. There we go.
It's a bit messy. That's what I need to...
You can take a photo of it, and I can share that instead if you want. But yeah, beautiful. Nice board.
That's also the advantage to this Wampler, because that's going to replace this clone on my pedal board, which as you can see is, it's quite a size difference. So I could probably fit some more pedals on here as well.
Yeah, room for one more. What is that clone, by the way, the large one?
That's the Cheriatone Centura.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard a lot about them. They're supposed to be very good.
They're great as well. They're great. Yeah. There is something in the look as well. I love the way it looks, because obviously it looks like a clone, but it does take up a lot of room on the pedal board.
Yeah.
It's a big unit, but yeah, they're great. They're really good. But yeah, this is the mothership that gets me through every gig.
And again, I think by the time this video comes out, or within a couple of weeks, there will be a video of Leigh doing his new board. So watch that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, this is having a full overhaul. The pedals itself probably won't change too much. I may swap a few things in and out, but really, I'm currently using loads of like molded cables and like pre-bought cables. And I've got a cable kit from a friend of mine and like a new power supply and stuff. So everything's getting like a freshen up. Like I've had all these cables for probably 5 or 6 years. So even though they work, when you're in when you tour a lot, there's always that point where you think, right, old cables could cause me some issues now. So yeah, I think it's time to freshen the old girl up.
Redo the board for 2024. Yeah, makes sense.
Give it a new lease of life. I don't think it's going to get any lighter. It's still going to be just as heavy. But yeah, that's part of the fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the joy of pedal boards.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Wouldn't have it any other way. So we've talked about amps, we've talked about pedals, we've talked about guitars. Any other gear that you want to talk about from this year that's really worth mentioning?
I can't think of anything else really off the top of my head that's kind of jumped out at me as like. I think I've kind of tried everything that I sort of wanted to really this year, I feel.
Yeah, I think I've tried most of what I would have wanted to try. I mean, from curiosity's sake, there's been a bunch of, well, in fact, more kind of amp replacements that have come out. Like Universal Audio, for example, have put a bunch of different options out where I'd want to try them, although I don't know yet if I'd personally be ready to own any of those products. But who knows? That might change when I get to test them. And then something else that I thought would be worth bringing up would be related to the IR2, because it's Boss's 50th anniversary this year. 73 to 2023, and they've had a bit of a brilliant year. I mean, they've brought a bunch of awesome pedals out, culminating in this IR2, which has been causing a bit of a stir on the forums that I look at anyway.
Yeah.
And there's one pedal that they brought out this year, which I haven't tried, which I would really want to, and that is the DM101, which is their big take on the Space Echo.
Yeah.
Haven't tried it and would love to, because I love that effect, and it's kind of expensive, but I think it would definitely be worth a try.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably, it's Boss, isn't it? Boss make great delays. Like, I love the DM2. That's one of my favourite delays. I just think there's something about that formula that they just got right in the 70s and 80s with those delays, and I've not found one that quite does the same thing yet. So I'm pretty sure that Space Echo is pretty good.
Yeah. There are so many Boss pedals that I want to try, but maybe next year. Yeah.
The good thing with Boss, though, is most of their stuff is relatively affordable. So they're one of those companies that even though they make a lot of stuff, it's quite easy to obtain most of it in terms of price. Yeah,
exactly. Like we've talked today about a bunch of cheapish stuff from €50, £50, $50 pedals through to boutique-y £300 stuff and $10,000 clones or whatever. And Boss is always kind of there at around the 80 to 150 sort of price point with their compact pedals. And the very fact that you see them on so many professional pedal boards is testament to how good they are and how reliable they are. So
they're the working musicians' pedals, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So everyone should
hard to break.
Pedals.
You can't really break Boss pedals, can you?
Well, that would be a good video. You can try that. How long will it take me to, or who can break it first? That'd be a good video.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anyone break a Boss pedal. If anyone could, it would be Henning. Because Henning, I think, has the track record for this person I've seen break the most amount of stuff in videos.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that Glenn Fricker could give him a run for his money. But that would be an interesting battle, which I would like to see next year.
Like, see who could break it first, Henning or Glenn.
Yeah, not that I approve of breaking gear, but like if we find some old pedals that are kind of on the edge of their life anyway, then perhaps that would be an interesting one to look at.
The world's most durable pedal brand. We get one of each company's flagship model, and we see which one lasts the longest in a room with those two.
Yeah, exactly.
Could be a video idea.
Yep, my money's on possibly Glenn actually, but yeah.
Do you think? I don't know. Henning has a good way of breaking things.
Yeah, he does, but Glenn has fire and throwing things from great heights, and he could probably.
But Henning breaks stuff with his hands.
It would start to melt after a certain point.
Yeah, but Henning breaks stuff with his hands, so that's quite impressive. I've literally I've watched Henning snap a whammy bar off a guitar mid solo. Did you ever see that video?
No.
I don't think it exists anymore, but I'll see if I can find a copy and send it to you off the books.
Yes.
We were at an event, and it was actually at Mike's house, one of the last events Mike ran before he passed. And we had like a live jam on Mike's channel, and Henning was playing this guitar with a whammy bar, and he was really giving it some. And it was like a vintage tremolo, but he was treating it as if it was a Floyd Rose, and he literally snapped the whammy bar off. like proper snapped, like the threads were still in the bridge. He snapped the whole thing. So he's quite strong. He's stronger than he looks.
Which is saying something, because he's obviously a monster of a man, of course. No, not really. But anyway, my money's still on Glenn. But we'll see if we can make that happen at some point.
Yeah. I actually believe both those people would be up for making that video as well.
So do I.
I genuinely think if me and you are in the same place as Glenn and Henning at some point in the next year, we need to find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, we do. We're going to have to buy Boss pedals for it, though. That's the problem. And then break them, which would break my heart as well. But
Well, we could go for something like
sometimes for the good of humanity, you have to do things like this.
Yeah, I mean, if you did something like the SD1, you can pick those up for like £45. Get a couple of those. They're quite affordable.
And maybe once they're broken, we could challenge people who know their way around circuit boards, like Colin Scott,
fix it.
See who can fix it fastest, and then we could give them away. And that would actually be doing some good for the community.
True. Yeah, true. Who else is good at fixing pedals that we know? Colin would be a good shout for that.
I mean, Colin can fix them both.
Can he fix it quicker with his left hand or his right hand? That's the challenge.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Who else? I mean, if we're at 42 Gear Street and you've got someone like Chris Jupiter there, like a pedal builder, surely there is no better person.
Chris could do it, but it would end up sounding like a rat, because Chris can make anything sound like a rat.
No matter what he does.
Yeah, that's just the magic talent that the guy has. I mean, Chris Jupiter, bear in mind, Chris Jupiter is the guy that built a reverb pedal with a fuzz built into the tail. So he can do all kinds of cool stuff like that.
Yeah, good point. It could be an interesting year. If this happens, I'm totally down for that.
That would be a really cool series of videos, like Henning and Glenn to break them, Chris versus Colin to fix them, and then we can have a competition and see which one of us can sell it the fastest for the most money. Like JHS style, like $5,000.
Yeah.
And then we donate that money to something.
42 Gear Street 6 is going to be big.
Yeah. Henning needs to invite us both now because that video concept alone will be worth it.
Yeah, he can't not. The event would live off that one video idea. Yeah.
We have to see who we can sell it to for the most money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So 42 Gear Street 6 is going to be big next year. But anything else that you've got hopes and dreams wise for 2024? Or is there any gear coming up that you know you're going to buy or stuff that you want for next year?
Do you know what? I've not really looked too far ahead in terms of gear for next year. I don't really know much about what's coming up. I know, like, obviously with NAMM being back in January, we'll hear a lot of new stuff coming out then. So maybe by the end of January, there'll probably be some cool stuff I'll have my eye on. But at the moment, I don't really know much about what's happening next year yet in terms of like gear releases. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get out to NAMM this year just because of touring commitments. But hopefully, if my schedule permits, I'll be able to get to a couple of the more kind of European shows. I know I'm definitely going to the Birmingham one in the UK in March next year. So I'll probably see some cool stuff there. But yeah, no, nothing's kind of caught me yet. What about you? Is there anything you've sort of seen creeping up?
Well, it's like there is one specific thing, but generally I'm more like you and I'm kind of open to what might appear next year. There haven't been a load of big teases or anything like that, but the one thing that I can speak about is the fact that at the Guitar Summit in September in Mannheim, Harley Benton had a bunch, about 10 or 12 of their 2024 prototypes for people to test out. They were just there, you could play them. I did a video about them, which you can also watch. And there are some really potentially cool models there. There's a Fender Tom DeLonge S-Type, the ST182, which looks amazing. Like, you know, the specs for the prices, as usual for Harley Benton, it just seems almost too good to be true, some of it, like flamed roasted maple necks and stainless steel frets, Babbage bridges and stuff. And, you know, Harley Benton prices, really, really good. And they have their ST pluses, you know, their HSS Strat type guitars. There's a bunch of new basses, a bunch of other guitars. I'm excited for a lot of that stuff. Like, Harley Benton has a lot of cool new things. And apart from that, I think other companies are going to have to keep up with that kind of level of excitement. But it's going to be tricky, you know.
Actually, two things that will be really interesting. They're both from Chapman, and there's the new Danish Pete guitar.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be really cool. And also they're doing a signature model for Chris Robertson from the band Blackstone Cherry.
Oh right, okay.
Which is like the ML3 style, but it's got two bare knuckle humbuckers, an F hole, and it's like white with gold trim. I played the prototype one at NAMM, and that was great. And I'm really excited for, you know, when the production one of that goes live as well, because that'll be a really cool guitar to check out. because the prototype was great.
Interesting as well.
Yeah, it sort of looked like an ML1 crossed with like a Gretsch White Falcon, that kind of vibe.
That sounds pretty cool.
Really cool. Like bright white, gold hardware, gold pickups, gold binding. Really cool guitar.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well, based on what
Those
you
will be
just
cool.
said. Yeah. Blackstone Cherry, good riffs, good fat
Yep.
sounds. So that's potentially a pretty cool guitar in store. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I suppose mentioning signature guitars, I guess the other thing I'm looking forward to is going to be seeing what Epiphone does in future. You know, like they've just done the Greenie, they've done Kirk Hammett stuff, they've got the Gibson open book headstock on some of their newer guitars. It's had mixed reviews, and the price points are very, very controversial for some people.
Yeah,
You know, they're quite expensive, and I'm very interested to see where they're going to go with that. And I assume that in 2024 there's going to be a bunch of stuff coming from Epiphone in that style.
Yeah. Yeah, what I find really interesting about that is when I was younger, the idea of owning a Gibson Les Paul seemed really unobtainable, which is why like one of my first proper guitars was an Epiphone Les Paul. But at that point, I remember the Gibson Les Paul standards, and you'll probably remember this as well, you could buy them in shops for like $1,300.
Yeah.
And that almost seemed like, oh, I'll never afford that amount of money. And now Epiphone are making guitars more than that. So I find that a little weird, because to me, like the Gibson was completely, I'll never be able to afford that. And now the Epiphone has kind of surpassed it in price. Granted, the Gibson has gone up, tenfold in price from there. But yeah, it's just crazy to see that difference now. That you can actually buy an Epiphone for £1,500, which is crazy.
Yeah, that is weird. I think, the Greenie is 1,500, isn't it? And it's like, I would have never expected to see an Epiphone even approaching 1,000. Even with inflation and prices going up and stuff like that, because it's the affordable, like the budget version. And it's like, to see that kind of a price where you could quite easily go onto the used market and get a full fat American-built Gibson. Okay, not a Greenie Gibson, but you could get one for that price or possibly even less. So it's like, interesting territory.
But to bring that full circle, I do wonder if this is, again, because of what brands like Harley Benton have done. They've shown you what you can do for a lot less money, so the brands have now had to really step their game up. But in turn, obviously, prices go up. But brands now have to offer you a lot more for your money because other companies do as well. I wonder if that's part of it. Like, Epiphone need to produce better guitars because everyone else is making them better than they are. But for them to produce better guitars, they have to bump the price up.
Yeah, that could have something to do with it for sure. I mean, guitar companies are definitely having to change how they do things, like at lower price points for sure. It's like, one company we haven't talked about today at all is Ibanez, because there just don't seem to have been new things this year that have worked for the kind of music that I play from them.
Yeah.
But with their AZ ES guitars, the AZ Essentials ones, for example, they're doing something amazing in that sort of Squier Epiphone price point range, just with amazing specs and hardware and stuff. Great playing guitars, nice colors, looking forward to future generations. And brands like Epiphone and Gibson and Marshall in the amp world are going to have to look at that and kind of realize that they're going to have to change in order to survive in the future, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Because even companies like Blackstar, they're making like the St. James as like a flagship product, and it's still under £1,000 for the combo. Or maybe the head is, and maybe the combo is just over 1,000, but it's still very much affordable compared to what some of those brands are charging.
Yeah.
So we are seeing a big shift, I think, in that sense.
Yeah, we are seeing a big shift, that's for sure. And it's going to carry on changing. And I think with that in mind, we'll call it a day here, and we'll reconvene next year.
Yeah.
And talk about the changes that have happened in the previous 12 months.
Yeah, same time next year.
Yeah. I want to say a big thanks to you for joining me again for this video.
Thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure. It's always fun.
Yeah, and for everybody watching, if you're still here, thank you very much for wading through this whole thing. Plenty of links to everything featured in the video down below. And of course, be sure to check out Leigh and his channel. And please leave us in the comments your list of your top gear from 2023 so we can see what you guys thought. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.